Konstantin Kisin is a comedian. He's the host of the YouTube show Trigonometry. He was recently invited to perform at a college in London, but the group that invited him asked that he sign a contract. Well, that's a long list. What was he supposed to joke about? Well, we've asked him to come on tonight to tell us. Mr. Kisin, thank you very much for coming on. First, is that real? Did you make up that list? Is this a comedy bit?
No, it's not. It's been very good for my comedy. But actually, if you go further into the contract, they also demanded that all jokes must be respectful and kind, which I think really takes the biscuit. And as you know, I was born in the Soviet Union, and this really, getting this contract made me feel right at home. Well, it's getting very sensitive, and I think this is obviously an outlier. No one would suggest that every university and college is like this. But I think the reason that I made a stand on this issue is I don't want it to get worse. I don't want this to continue. We're the canary in the coal mine, and I think this is why it's gone viral. I think it's nothing to do with comedy, this story, actually. The reason that people all around the world are tuning in and watching the video we recorded of this is because it's not about comedy. It's about ordinary people up and down the country, and here in Britain and in America, feeling like they can't say what they think. I've had so many messages from people messaging me, all kinds of people, sometimes women going, you know what, I don't agree with radical feminism, and if I say that in the workplace tomorrow, I won't have a job anymore. So what it's coming to is the fact that everybody feels like we're all kind of under arrest. We're all everything we say can and will be used against us in the court of public opinion. And they're coming for the comedians first, because we're the ones that, as you say, are allowed to transgress, but everybody else feels it, and that's why the story's got the resonance that it has.
I'd like to make a brief return visit to that playground of guilty white liberals, political correctness. Political correctness is America's newest form of intolerance, and it's especially pernicious because it comes disguised as tolerance. It presents itself as fairness, yet attempts to restrict and control people's language with strict codes and rigid rules. I'm not sure that's the way to fight discrimination. I'm not sure silencing people or forcing them to alter their speech is the best method for solving problems that go much deeper than speech.
Did the CBS and NBC do the right thing?
No. What are they accomplishing after 2 weeks? And what are they accomplishing? What are y'all trying to accomplish? I don't understand where this is going.
And so, no, seriously, you don't find anything wrong with those comments?
It's something wrong with the comments, but you act like Don Imus and Kramer are like malignant spots.
But we got to hold everybody to the same standard.
We
must establish what is the standard.
Let's fire all of them.
Hold on, Armstrong.
Let's fire all of them then. I have no problem with that.
And then what?
Are you offended?
I'm not because first of all, nobody except for me and the good doctors under 60, and none of you know what funny is. Like the doctor.
Was that fun? Was it funny? What I
to say funny to me? Nappy-headed hoe
was it funny?
Is hilarious, but in context of context of a comic. You should be able to explore any words you want to say. He messed up.
Would it be different if a black person said it?
Of course. I can say nappy-headed hoe all day. But I want to be able to call white girls straight-headed hoes anytime I feel like it. Anytime.
And would you?
Of course.
And should you be punished for it?
Of course not.
Right, so
I'm just saying I know funny. And I know if he had said nappy-headed athletes or nappy-headed young women,
why is that okay?
No, it's not okay if he had said that.
We'd be just as offended.
Nappy-headed athlete would have been, is he using an adjective? I don't get that. Yeah. But to say nappy-headed hoe is so ridiculous, you know he was trying to be funny.
Well,
you know it.
If this is how Imus is going to be treated, what about the people leading the charge? Is it fair? You say, well, you're trying to create this. Is there hypocrisy?
Divide and conquer.
No.
That's why
I'm not dividing and conquer. I'm saying
to prevent it from being that, let him say what he wants so I can say what I want.
You want everybody to say everything. You don't care.
Yes.
All right,
my question would be about whether you think there should be any limits to what is considered comedy and what the role, if any, political correctness should play in comedy.
I think political correctness started out as a very good idea, which is let's not make mean jokes, particularly about groups that can't look after themselves so well yet because of their position on the socioeconomic scale. I thought it was a good idea. Then it got extended ad absurdum. And I now think it's become quite pernicious, which is what happens with good ideas if they're taken too far. And I think what we've reached now is a point where anything that seems to be the slightest bit critical of any group or individual is out of bounds. And what people don't understand is all humor is essentially critical. Every joke that's ever been made is about stupidity or prejudice or something like that. Do you see what I mean? It's always critical. Now, this isn't harmful. I was with a wonderful psychiatrist who said that the moment that he knew someone in the group was getting more healthy was they started laughing at their own behavior. It was a little daylight between themselves and their ego. So if we can laugh at ourselves, that can't be a particularly cruel thing to do, can it? So to laugh at other people when there's affection around is fine. That's what good, humorous, affectionate teasing is about. It's about teasing people gently and pointing things out to them. Now, when it gets nasty, not only is it nasty, but they'll never listen to you. But if teasing is done in an affectionate way, then people can hear the implicit criticism that's in there, and it's at an acceptable level.
Naturally, I want racism, misogyny, homophobia, transphobia, xenophobia, bullying, bigotry, intolerance of all human kinds to end. That's surely a given amongst all of us. The question is how such a golden aim is to be achieved. My ultimate objection to political correctness is not that it combines so much of what I have spent a lifetime loathing and opposing, preachiness, with great respect, piety, self-righteousness, heresy hunting, denunciation, shaming, assertion without evidence, accusation, inquisition, censoring. That's not why I'm incurring the wrath of my fellow liberals by standing on this side of the House. My real objection is that I don't think political correctness works. I want to get to the Golden Hill, but I don't think that's the way to get there. I believe one of the greatest human failings is to prefer to be right than to be effective. And political correctness is always obsessed with how right it is without thinking of how effective it might be. I wouldn't class myself as a classical libertarian, but I do relish transgression, and I deeply and instinctively distrust conformity and orthodoxy. Progress is not achieved by preachers and guardians of morality, but, to paraphrase Yevgeny Zamyatin, by madmen, hermits, heretics, dreamers, rebels, and skeptics. Gay rights came about in England because we slowly and persistently knocked on the door of people in power. We didn't shout, we didn't scream. People like Ian McKellen eventually got to see the Prime Minister. And when the Queen signed in the royal assent, as she has to, for the bill allowing equality of marriage, she said, Lord, you know, I couldn't imagine this in 1953. Really is extraordinary, isn't it? Just wonderful. And handed it over. Now, it's a nice story, and I hope it's true, but it's nothing to do with political correctness. It's to do with human decency. It's that simple.
The people that complain and all that type of shit is just, it's a very small group of people, and they're bullies. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to bring this up because I don't want to throw fucking gas on the fire and just, you know, to get it going again. But there was a comic, okay, and this person had a big movie coming out, and they just go into the archives. And, 3 years ago you said this. What does that mean? And it's just like, well, where the fuck have you been for 3 years? Right. It's like they wait and they wait and they wait till they know they got you by the short hairs, and you got, because the thing is if they can get you to apologize, then that's a big feather in their cap, and it's pumping up like this paper tiger. And it fucking blows my mind that people sit around. It doesn't blow my mind, because that's how it just fucking works. That there's somebody fucking with our food supply. That this state is running out of fucking water. The Colorado River doesn't even make it to the fucking ocean anymore. There's baby seals washing up onto the fucking shores because they're starving to death because we fished out the fucking ocean. Never talk about that shit. Right. But a comic tells a fucking joke in a strip mall. And all of a sudden they're talking about it. Right. You know, one person gets offended. That's another thing too. Like every one of those things, it's like a comic is guilty of telling a joke in a comedy club. That's all they're guilty of.
Right.
And then what I love too is people get offended by the joke, and it's just like he or she didn't tell you the joke.
Right.
If you want to get mad that you heard the joke,
Right.
it's the person that blogs about it. It's the person that takes the video or records it. The
Right.
comedian is just guilty of being in a nightclub
Right.
where people voluntarily came in and telling jokes.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, just because you're sitting at home eating cornflakes now and you hear the nightclub, that's really on you.
Right.
You don't want to hear the nightclub, don't go to the nightclub, and also don't fucking listen to it. But if all of a sudden it just slips into your world, get mad at the person
Right. that
illegally fucking uploaded the video that they're not supposed to put. And I really don't feel that I just don't feel that networks and the advertisers get behind their performers. That's what they should do.
Does it worry you? I was watching this Bruce Jenner story, and 2 days before he did the Diane Sawyer interview, Conan did a joke, and it's funny. And then he did the Diane Sawyer interview, and if Conan would have done the joke 2 days later, he would have been labeled a bigot. Does the climate worry you now? I've talked to Chris Rock and Larry the Cable Guy. They don't even want to do college campuses anymore.
I hear that all the time. I don't play colleges, but I hear a lot of people tell me don't go near colleges. They're so PC. That's prejudice. They don't even know what they're talking about.
Does it hurt comedy?
Yes, it does.
I do too.
Yes, it does.
Louis C.K. went on Saturday Night Live. It was controversial. You've stayed away from controversy, but Louis does a lot of theater stuff. I wonder if it worries Louis.
No. Louis' great gift is he doesn't worry. He just does his thing. If I wanted to say something, I would say it. You got to go. Everybody has their hot zone. You got your heat map, and that's the jokes you do. For me, it's the subject. I talk about the subjects I talk about because for some reason I can make them funny. The ones I can't make funny, you don't hear.
But I'm sure you saw our colleague Jerry Seinfeld this week made a statement about how colleges are too politically correct. And by the way, if Jerry Seinfeld is too politically incorrect for you, maybe you should look in the mirror. What is your thoughts on this?
I appreciate Jerry, who's not necessarily thought of as an edgy comedian, sticking up for comedy as an art form. I mean, why do comedians have to water down? Comedy is medicine. It's the best medicine, laughter. You don't want it generic, you want it potent. We have a responsibility to shine a light on the darkest aspects of society.
But do you think it's a generational thing? Do you think it's a liberal conservative thing? Because liberals are definitely more PC.
Right.
I mean, I used to fight with this audience all the time because we used to get the audience strictly from liberal sources.
Right.
Then we got the audience from everywhere. And I've had a much better time the last couple of months.
Right, it's good for you. You have a great crowd. People are sensitive.
Yeah. Too sensitive.
Why do people have to? Comedians shouldn't have to adapt to change to PC. People that are too sensitive should become more thick-skinned.
You know what it is?
I once did a show for sensitive people. They wanted to become better at taking a joke. That's what was so great about roasting criminals. I was curious if they would laugh at themselves. I think that's the first step towards rehabilitation. And some of these PC police should try that.
Right.
Laughing, not taking themselves so seriously, not taking everything so seriously.
What is this thing where we have to scrub comics now? Comics can't have any past, any flaws. Comics are degenerates. I like a good shitbag.
People just don't know how to be uncomfortable. That's all it is. It's not even about comedy. It's that everyone's taught that if you're not comfortable, you don't have to adjust how you see things. The person who did something that makes you uncomfortable has to adjust who they are and their behavior. It's never your fault that you're not comfortable. It's always someone else's fault.
Right.
Your discomfort is always someone else's responsibility.
I guess so.
That's the message. If you're uncomfortable, it ain't your fault. It's theirs.
So we got to go to the audience and narrow down everything you've been through?
Yeah, write down a list of shit that I can't talk about.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense. Just don't come.
Yeah, that'd be great. We should pass out something in the beginning, and everybody has a list of things. Or that's what I'm going to do. My next time I'm on the road, I'm going to open up and I'm going to go, all right, before we start, I would like anyone who does not want a certain subject talked about, please stand up.
Yes.
And discuss what subject you would not like joked about and tell me why.
And describe what happened to you.
Yeah, come up here, talk about what subject we shouldn't make fun of tonight.
Yeah, well, that's the thing about offence, isn't it? When people say they're offended, it's that, just because you're offended, it doesn't mean you're right. You know, it's offence is about feelings, and feelings are personal. Some people are offended by equality. So what? You know, so you can't second-guess people. If you try and please everyone, you'll please no one. With comedy as well, I think you've got to deal with taboos and contentious issues, and sometimes you deal in irony, and some people don't get that, but, you know, you can't legislate against stupidity, otherwise you'll be doing nothing. So if you're saying anything, you should polarise. You should polarise, because everyone's different.